my beloved one. Pause for a moment and let your breathing slow. What you are sensing right now did not arise by chance. This pull you feel within, this quiet stirring, is not imagination. It is awareness awakening. You did not arrive here accidentally. You were drawn here because something inside you already knew it was time to listen. You have felt it for a while now. A change you could not explain. Not fear, not peace, something in between. As if a chapter is closing, but the next page has not yet been revealed. I know that feeling well, because I have been with you through every moment of it. Right now, I ask you to set everything else aside. Let the noise quiet down. Release the thoughts that keep circling without answers. What I am sharing with you now is not like the voices you hear every day. It comes from a place deeper than reason, deeper than memory. I speak to you now because there are movements unfolding that you cannot yet see. And because your heart is finally ready to receive what has been forming quietly all this time. You may not realize how often you have whispered my name without sound. In sighs, in long pauses, in moments when words felt too heavy to speak. I heard every one of them. There were times you felt invisible, even among people who knew your name. Times when you sat quietly while others spoke, wondering if anyone would notice if you simply disappeared. You smiled when asked how you were, because explaining the truth felt like too much. And afterward, when you were alone, the weight returned. I was there. When you cried without tears left to fall, I was there. When you stared into darkness, asking yourself how much longer you could carry everything alone, I was there. When you chose to stay strong for others while your own strength was fading, I was there. Do not believe for a moment that your silence meant you were unseen. Your quiet endurance spoke louder than words ever could. You wondered why I did not answer right away, why your prayers seemed to rise into emptiness, why nothing shifted when you asked with sincerity. But my stillness was never absence. It was protection. There were things approaching that would have broken you if they had arrived too soon. There were connections not yet ready. There were truths you needed time to grow into before they could be placed in your hands. I was not delaying your life. I was strengthening you beneath the surface. You measured progress by what you could see. I measured it by what was forming inside you. Even now, you may feel unsure whether you are truly worthy of what you have been hoping for. You question if time has passed you by, if chances were missed, if your moment has already slipped away. Listen to me carefully. Nothing meant for you has been lost. Nothing prepared for you has expired. What is aligned with you cannot pass you by. You have carried guilt that was never yours to bear. You replayed conversations, wondering what you should have done differently. You took responsibility for things that were never placed in your hands. Release that weight. I never asked you to be perfect. I asked you to be sincere, and you were. I saw the kindness you gave when you felt empty. I saw the forgiveness you offered without being asked. I saw you choose compassion even when bitterness would have been easier. Those moments mattered more than you know. You believed that being strong meant never breaking. But true strength is continuing even when you feel broken. And you did that again and again. There was a night when you sat alone, exhausted beyond words. You questioned whether continuing was worth the effort. You did not say it aloud, but the thought passed through you quietly. I was closer than you realized. Your life holds value beyond what you can currently see. Not because of what you achieve, not because of what you give, but because you exist. I am not preparing something small for you. I am preparing you for something meaningful. Before what is coming appears in your outer world, it must settle within you. You must believe you are allowed to receive it. You must stop asking whether you deserve peace, joy, restoration. You do. You always did. The calm you feel beginning to form inside you now is real. It is not imagination. It is my presence reminding you that you are not walking alone. This is only the beginning. What has been hidden will not remain hidden. What has been delayed is not denied. And what you thought was over is not finished. Rest here for a moment. Let these words settle into the places you have kept guarded for so long. I am with you. I have always been. And what comes next will make that unmistakably clear. Stay with me, my beloved one. Do not rush past this moment. What you are feeling now is not heaviness, it is release beginning to take shape. You have often wondered why the quiet lasted so long. Why answers did not come when you were desperate for clarity. Why doors remained closed even when you knocked with sincerity and patience. But silence is not emptiness. Silence is where preparation happens. While you were waiting, questioning, and trying to understand, I was arranging what you could not yet see. While you thought nothing was moving, foundations were being laid beneath your feet. What felt like stillness was actually alignment. There were lessons you could not have learned through ease. There was wisdom that only waiting could give you. And there was a depth within you that had to be uncovered before what is coming could safely rest in your hands. I did not withhold answers to punish you. I allowed the quiet to protect you. Some outcomes you asked for would have arrived at the wrong time. Some connections you longed for would have drained you instead of strengthening you. Some paths you wished to take would have cost you parts of yourself you were not meant to lose. So I stood between you and what was premature. You mistook that protection for rejection. You believed you were being ignored. You wondered if your voice no longer reached me. But I never stopped listening. Every tear you hid, every thought you carried alone, every question you asked without words, none of it was lost. There were moments when you felt your faith weakening, not because you stopped believing, but because you were tired of hoping. Hope felt heavy. Expectation felt dangerous. You learned to lower your expectations to avoid disappointment. You told yourself it was better not to want too much. But you were never meant to shrink your heart to survive. I allowed you to sit with uncertainty so you could learn to trust without guarantees. Not because I wanted you to struggle, but because what is coming requires a steadiness that does not collapse when conditions are unclear. What you are developing now is not fragile belief. It is rooted trust. You thought strength meant feeling confident all the time. But true strength is choosing to continue even when confidence fades. And you did that. You kept moving forward while unsure. You kept caring when it would have been easier to close yourself off. You kept hoping quietly, even when you told others you were fine either way. That matters more than you realize. There were nights when memories returned uninvited, when the past felt closer than the present, when you questioned whether healing was even possible. I was with you then too. Healing does not erase memory. It changes how memory holds power over you. And that transformation takes time. You were not stuck, you were being rewired. The old patterns that once controlled you are loosening. The voices that told you you were not enough are losing authority. The weight you carried out of habit is beginning to fall away. That is why things may feel unfamiliar now. You are standing in a space between who you were and who you are becoming. And that space can feel unsettling. But it is holy ground. Do not rush to fill it with noise. Do not distract yourself from the quiet. The clarity you seek is forming there. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not forgotten. Timing is not measured by calendars. It is measured by readiness. You are closer than you think. What is coming will not require you to force it. It will meet you naturally because you are being aligned with it now. Your role is not to strain, but to receive. Let go of the idea that you must earn rest. Let go of the belief that peace only comes after struggle. Let go of the thought that you must prove your worth before good things arrive. You are already worthy. The stillness you feel growing inside you is not numbness. It is stability. It is the kind of calm that remains even when circumstances are unclear. This is the calm that will carry you forward. Soon, things will begin to make sense in ways they never did before. Conversations will land differently. Decisions will feel clearer. What once confused you will no longer hold the same power. Not because everything changes overnight, but because you have changed. And I am not finished. What you have endured has not disqualified you. It has refined you. What you lost has not diminished you. It has made room. What you feared was wasted time has been shaping you for what is next. Trust this process. You are not waiting alone. You never were. Remain here a little longer. Let this truth settle deeper. Because the next thing I reveal will speak directly to the wounds you thought would never fully heal. Stay with me, my beloved one. There is something tender I need to speak into the places you have kept guarded for a long time. You have learned how to carry pain quietly, how to smile while holding weight no one else could see, how to be the one others lean on, even when you yourself felt unsteady. You told yourself it was easier that way, safer, less complicated, but it has cost you more than you admit. There were burdens you accepted not because they were yours, but because no one else stepped forward to hold them. You became strong out of necessity, not choice. And over time, you forgot what it felt like to be held yourself. I saw that. I saw how you minimized your own pain because you believed others had it worse. How you silenced your needs to avoid being a burden. How you convinced yourself that asking for help meant weakness. But I never asked you to endure alone. You were not designed to absorb endless weight without rest. Your heart was not meant to be a storage place for unspoken grief. Your spirit was not created to survive only by endurance. There were moments you reached your limit quietly, not in anger, not in drama, just in exhaustion. You thought no one noticed. I did. I watched you choose silence after being misunderstood. I watched you forgive without apology being offered. I watched you continue giving even when nothing was poured back into you. That kind of love leaves marks. And some of those marks became wounds you learned to live around instead of healing. You became accustomed to carrying sadness as if it were part of your identity. You told yourself this is just how life is, but that was never the truth. Pain may visit, but it was never meant to move in permanently. There are things you have not spoken because you feared they would change how others see you. You worried that if you revealed the depth of what you feel, you might be left behind. So you learned to be agreeable, flexible, strong. But strength without release becomes heaviness. And you have been carrying heaviness for too long. I want you to hear this clearly. You do not have to protect everyone else at the cost of yourself. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to feel. You are allowed to be honest, even when honesty feels uncomfortable. I am not asking you to relive the pain. I am inviting you to release it. Some of what you hold does not belong to you anymore. Some of it never belonged to you at all. There are memories you replay, not because you want to, but because they never found closure. Moments where words were left unsaid. Situations where you blamed yourself because no explanation was given. You filled in the silence with self-blame. Let that go. Not everything that ended was your fault. Not everyone who left was your failure. Not every loss was something you could have prevented. I know you replay the past, wondering what you could have done differently. If one more word, one more effort, one more sacrifice would have changed the outcome. But there are things love cannot fix alone. And it was never your responsibility to save what was already breaking. I am not disappointed in you. I am proud of you. Proud of the way you kept your heart open when it would have been easier to close it. Proud of the way you continued to care when you felt drained. Proud of the way you chose kindness even when you were hurting. But now it is time for you to be cared for too. You do not have to earn gentleness. You do not have to justify your need for healing. You do not have to wait until everything makes sense to feel peace. I am here to carry what you can no longer hold. That is why you feel this shift. That is why old emotions are surfacing. Not to overwhelm you, but to be released. That is why you may feel tired in a way sleep does not fix. Your spirit is ready to lay things down. Let me take what has been weighing on you. The guilt, the unanswered questions, the belief that you must always be strong. You were never meant to be unbreakable. You were meant to be supported. There is nothing weak about needing rest. There is nothing shameful about healing. There is nothing wrong with you for feeling deeply. You are not too much. You are not difficult. You are not asking for more than you deserve. You are simply human and deeply valued. Stay here a moment longer. Let your breathing slow. Feel the weight easing even slightly. You do not have to carry this alone anymore. And what comes next will confirm that in ways you do not yet expect. Stay with me. This part requires softness, not strength. There are losses you still carry quietly. Not always in tears, but in pauses. In the way certain thoughts trail off before finishing. In the way your chest tightens when something reminds you of what once was. Some things did not end the way you hoped. Some goodbyes came without explanation. Some dreams faded before they ever had the chance to become real. And even now, you wonder if letting go meant failing. Didn't. Loss is not proof that you were wrong to hope. It is proof that you dared to care. You gave meaning to moments that mattered. You invested love where it was real to you. That was never a mistake. But I know you still ask yourself difficult questions. What if I had held on longer? What if I had tried harder? What if I had been different? Those questions come from a tender heart, but they do not tell the truth. Some things leave not because you lacked effort, but because they were never meant to stay in that form. Some chapters close not to punish you, but to make space for something more aligned with who you are becoming. What you lost did not disappear into nothingness. Transformed. The love you gave did not vanish. It strengthened your capacity to love again, more wisely this time. The trust you offered did not make you foolish. It taught you discernment. The dreams that shifted did not betray you. They redirected you. Even now, pieces of what you thought was gone are finding their way back to you, just not in the shape you expected. Sometimes it returns as clarity, sometimes as peace, sometimes as a deeper understanding of yourself, and sometimes it returns as something entirely new. You feared that losing something meant it was wasted forever, but nothing that shaped you is ever wasted. I see how carefully you guard your heart now. Not closed, but cautious. Not bitter, but aware. That awareness is not damage. It is wisdom. You are no longer chasing what hurts you. You are no longer forcing connections that drain you. You are no longer mistaking intensity for love. That is growth, even if it came through pain. There were things you begged to keep that, in time, you would have had to release anyway. There were versions of yourself that could not follow you into what is next. And that is not loss, that is transition. I know part of you still grieves the person you were before disappointment taught you restraint, before heartbreak taught you boundaries, before uncertainty made you question your instincts. But you did not lose yourself. You refined yourself. What remains is stronger, quieter, and more grounded, less reactive, more intentional, more aware of your worth. You are no longer defined by what left. You are defined by what stayed. Your compassion stayed. Your ability to feel deeply stayed. Your hope, though quieter, stayed. And that hope is not naive anymore. It is rooted. There will be moments when the past resurfaces unexpectedly. A song, place, a memory you thought had softened. Do not interpret that as failure. Healing is not forgetting. It is remembering without being undone. And you are doing that now. What is meant for you will not require you to abandon yourself. It will not confuse you. It will not make you feel small or uncertain of your value. What is meant for you will meet you in the fullness of who you are now, not who you were trying to be before. Trust that. The things that left made room. The space they created is not empty, it is intentional. Something gentler is approaching, something steadier, something that will not demand that you bleed just to belong. You do not need to recreate the past to honor it. You only need to keep moving forward with what you have learned. And you are doing that more beautifully than you realize. Stay present. The next part will speak to what is beginning to shift around you now. Pay attention now, not with fear, not with urgency, but with awareness. Something around you is beginning to change. Not loudly, not all at once, but subtly. You may not be able to name it yet, but you can feel it. A quiet shift. A sense that you are no longer standing in the same place you were before. This is not coincidence. What is responding to you now is not reacting to who you used to be. It is responding to who you have become. There was a time when you reached outward, hoping something would choose you. You searched for reassurance. You waited for signs that you were on the right path. But now, something different is happening. You are no longer chasing alignment, you are embodying it. That is why opportunities may appear without you forcing them. That is why conversations feel more meaningful, even when they are brief. That is why certain doors feel easier to walk through, while others no longer tempt you at all. You didn't lose desire, you refined it. Your energy has changed because your boundaries have changed. Your expectations have shifted because your self-respect has deepened. You no longer tolerate confusion disguised as potential. And what is meant for you recognizes that. You may notice people responding to you differently now, listening more closely, meeting you with a level of honesty you didn't always receive before. That's not because they changed, it's because you did. You stopped over-explaining. You stopped bending yourself to fit places that felt tight. You stopped mistaking silence for rejection. You learned how to stand calmly in your truth. That kind of presence speaks louder than effort ever could. There was a season when you would have questioned this calm. You would have mistaken it for detachment. You would have worried that something was missing. But nothing is missing. What you feel now is space. And space is where the right things find you. You no longer need constant validation to know your worth. You no longer need dramatic highs to feel alive. You no longer need chaos to feel chosen. You have learned the difference between excitement and peace. And peace is responding to you. You may not see the full picture yet. That's okay. You are not meant to control what is unfolding, only to stay open to it. Some things will arrive gently. Others will arrive unexpectedly. But none of them will arrive to test your endurance. What is coming will meet you where you are, not where you were. That is why patience feels different now. It no longer feels like waiting in doubt. It feels like standing in trust. You are not preparing for something distant. You are already stepping into it. And when you look back, you will realize this was the moment things quietly aligned. Not with noise, not with force, but with certainty. Stay grounded, stay present, stay honest with yourself. The next part will speak to what this new alignment is asking of you, and what it no longer requires. Take a breath here. Let this land slowly. For so long, you believed you had to earn your place. Earn love, earn peace, earn the right to rest. You learned early that being valuable meant being useful, that being accepted meant being agreeable, that being chosen meant doing more, giving more, becoming more. So you tried, again and again. You overextended yourself hoping it would be enough. You explained yourself hoping to be understood. You stayed longer than you should have, thinking loyalty would be rewarded. But worth was never something you were meant to prove. You were already enough before you learned how to perform strength. You were already deserving before you learned how to endure. You were already seen even when you felt invisible. The exhaustion you felt was not from effort alone. It was from trying to convince the wrong spaces of your value. And now that season is ending. You no longer feel the same urgency to impress. You no longer rush to fill silence. You no longer feel responsible for managing how others perceive you. That is not indifference. That is freedom. You are realizing that what is meant for you does not require constant explanation. It does not need you to shrink or exaggerate yourself. It does not need you to sacrifice your peace to be kept. The right things recognize you without persuasion. There was a time when you feared being misunderstood. You tried to clarify, justify, soften your truth so it would be easier for others to accept. But clarity does not come from convincing. It comes from alignment. And you are aligned now. You are allowed to say no without guilt. You are allowed to choose rest without apology. You are allowed to walk away from what drains you, even if it once mattered deeply. You do not owe anyone exhaustion. Notice how your body responds now, how tension releases more quickly, how decisions feel less heavy. This is what happens when you stop fighting to be seen. You are learning that not everything requires your reaction. Not every invitation deserves your energy. Not every opinion needs your response. Silence, when chosen, is not weakness. It is discernment. You are no longer trying to prove that you are strong. You are allowing yourself to be steady. That steadiness will attract what effort never could. What is meant for you will meet you in ease, not in constant testing. It will not ask you to abandon yourself. It will not confuse love with sacrifice. You are stepping into a season where your presence is enough. No performance, no overthinking, no justification, just truth. And that truth is lighter than the roles you used to carry. Stay here a moment. Let the pressure lift. The next part will speak to what this freedom opens the door to and how to receive it without fear. Stay present with this. This is where many people hesitate. You have learned how to survive by staying alert, by anticipating what might go wrong, by preparing yourself emotionally before anything could disappoint you. Control once felt like safety. If you didn't expect too much, you wouldn't be hurt. If you stayed guarded, you wouldn't be surprised. If you stayed independent, no one could let you down. And that helped you for a while. But control was never meant to be your permanent shelter. What you are being invited into now does not require vigilance. It requires openness. And that can feel unfamiliar. Receiving asks you to loosen your grip, not on your boundaries, but on your fear. It asks you to trust without scanning for loss, to accept support without questioning its permanence. That does not mean surrendering your wisdom. It means allowing good to arrive without interrogation. You are not weak for wanting ease. You are not careless for letting someone meet you halfway. You are not irresponsible for believing that something can stay. You have done the work. You have learned discernment. You have earned the right to soften. Receiving is not passive. It is an active choice to believe that you do not have to struggle for everything that matters. There may be moments when calm feels suspicious, when consistency feels unfamiliar, when kindness arrives without conditions and your first instinct is to brace yourself. Pause there. That discomfort is not a warning. It is adjustment. Your nervous system is learning a new language, one that does not equate love with tension, one that does not confuse chaos with connection. Let yourself adjust. You do not need to stay in control to stay safe. You need to stay honest with yourself. You are allowed to lean without falling. You are allowed to trust without losing clarity. You are allowed to receive without owing anyone your soul. What is meant for you will not demand that you disappear to keep it. You will still recognize red flags. You will still honor your boundaries. You will still walk away if something compromises your peace. But you no longer need to keep one foot out the door. This is not about giving up control. It is about sharing responsibility. You are not meant to do everything alone. You are not meant to carry every outcome. You are not meant to manage every possibility. Let life meet you now. What is coming does not need to be chased. It needs to be welcomed, and you are ready for that more than you realize. Stay here. The final part will bring this full circle and speak to who you are becoming now. Take a moment here, not to think, just to notice. Notice how you are no longer reaching for answers the way you once did. Notice how your breathing feels steadier. Notice how the urgency that used to live inside you has softened into something quieter. That is not emptiness. That is arrival. You are no longer becoming. You are settling into yourself. There were versions of you that existed only to survive. Versions that adapted, tolerated, and endured because they had to. They carried you through moments that required grit and resilience. Honor them, but they are not the versions that stay. This version, the one who knows when to pause, when to speak, when to walk away, this is the one that remains. Not hardened, not closed, but anchored. You are no longer defined by reaction. You are defined by choice. You choose where your energy goes. You choose what deserves your time. You choose not to abandon yourself just to keep something familiar. That is not loss. That is maturity. You no longer confuse longing with love. You no longer mistake attention for connection. You no longer give unlimited access to people who offer inconsistent presence. You have learned that peace is not boring. It is sacred. This version of you does not rush, does not chase, does not beg to be understood. This version trusts that what is meant to stay will not need to be convinced. There will still be challenges. Growth does not mean the absence of difficulty, but you will meet those moments differently now, with clarity instead of panic, with boundaries instead of self-blame, with compassion instead of judgment. You will no longer ask, "What is wrong with me?" You will ask, "What is aligned with me?" And that question changes everything. You are not afraid of being alone anymore, not because you don't value connection, but because you value yourself. You know now that loneliness comes from abandoning your truth, not from solitude. This version of you stays because it does not depend on external approval. It is rooted in self-respect, in discernment, in quiet confidence. And that is why what comes next will not shake you. You will receive without fear. You will love without losing yourself. You will move forward without dragging the past behind you. Not because you forgot what hurt you, but because it no longer controls you. This is the version of you that stays when things are good, and when they are uncertain, and when they are quiet. This is the version that knows you are enough without proving, whole without performing, worthy without waiting. Remain here as long as you need. You are not becoming someone else. You are finally standing as yourself. And that is where everything truly begins.